What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be a pre-recorded bit, but I wanted to take a second because I always talk about it and then I never actually do it. And I wanted to, since we're working on the PlayStation, I wanted to take a minute and show you guys how exactly it is that I go about cleaning the plastics on console. Because this one was particularly filthy and dirty and all that good stuff. So I wanted to make sure that I showed that at least in the video. We may go some more in depth with it, but for the time being, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna flip over to the top-down view and then separate everything out so we know what we're cleaning, and then I'm gonna move a camera and a laptop over to the sink and I'll show you the concoction that I use to clean these things up and the tools that I use and stuff like that, so that you guys will know how to do that. So I guess let's switch over. I still got to get a I keep saying it, but I've got to get at some point a stream deck of some sort, I guess. Let me turn that on. Maybe that'll brighten things up a little bit. I've so I ran into a little bit of a problem, and that problem is, so this is the expansion bay. We're definitely going to clean it. It's nothing but just plastic, so we won't hurt it. The heat sink we're going to clean. We're going to go ahead and peel off this large, this very thick, that's probably 2 mil, maybe 2.5 mil thick thermal pad, and then we're going to go ahead and peel off this big one, preferably without ripping it any more than we absolutely have to. We're going to set him aside. We're going to peel off this smaller one. I did get in the replacements for these guys, so we can just swap them out. This is just like a big hunk of aluminum. So the problem I ran into is I wasn't convinced that we can clean this guy, this board, and that board we cannot clean and should not clean. This upper tray here I think will be fine. He sits like this. We can clean this guy with alcohol. The drive tray will be fine. It's got some PCIe lanes on this board, so he's fine. We don't need to clean him. Obviously, we are not going to clean the disk drive at all. I did, by the way, find the file for the front of this. When I do the video of putting this back together later, we're going to tear into the disk drive. Obviously, we're not going to clean the power board. Obviously, that's not going to go get cleaned. This, on the other hand, doesn't have anything. We're not cleaning that either. Not doing it. Not doing it. If I can get out, it doesn't look like I can get out. So this would be the top, or the bottom piece of plastic. We're gonna clean this. So all of the pieces that we're gonna clean, we're just gonna stick inside of him. This would be the power buttons. This guy right here, power and eject button. We're gonna clean him by hand, remembering that we still have to reattach the power reset button. So we're just gonna set all of that stuff there. And then we have this middle piece. We're not going to clean our power switch. We don't need to do that. We do have our fan in here and a dust bunny. That's awesome. And we do need to remove this fan in order to properly clean this piece of plastic. That piece of metal can go. It's got a screw, one singular screw. All right. And then this guy should slide out and we can clean him. I love that all of the screws inside of this are the same side. We're not going to wash the fan. Okay, so we can set this piece of plastic now is good. It does have two metal pieces on the back side of it here that you could clean, or that we could take off, but we're going to leave them there. No need to do that. If I can find out how, I think if I just lift this up, yeah, there we go. Cool. So that piece of metal we can clean separately. I really kind of wanted to get this grill off, and I can very gently lift up, wash him down. And then we're gonna deal with the top of the case, this guy here. And again, we do have some floppy doors here. We're gonna go ahead and remove those. There's a screw. It looks like the metal on the inside is glued down. Now you could pull it out if you really wanted to, but I don't see a need for it. So that's the only different screws. I'm gonna put him over here with this. And we're gonna take this guy out, and our little doors, we're gonna pop them out, leaving the springs attached to them. We'll clean these guys by hand, okay? So, before we head over, I wanna talk about, and let me transition back over to this screen. So, when you go to clean a console, the first thing that you need to think about is the surfaces you're trying to clean. You don't want to use, first off, this is plastic for the most part, and there's some metals in there. So since there's some metal in it, we wouldn't want to use anything corrosive. Now, water in itself can cause corrosion, can cause rust, so we want to monitor our usage of that, for one. But we don't want to use anything acidic, anything like that that's going to weaken or soften the plastics, or anything that's going to, I mean, every cleaner, even Dawn dish soap, right, which we're going to use, that has a certain amount of adhesive removal. It's just going to weaken some of the adhesives on some of the stickers, so we want to be very careful how we approach it. When we go over there, and I'll show you when we get all set up, you're going to actually need 2 sinks. You can do it with one, but it's best to have 2. That way you can have a dirty sink and a clean sink. And we're gonna need things like a regular toothbrush is fine, okay, our online best service toothbrush, a soft bristled brush, something very soft like this. And I'm not advocating, you can buy these guys in little paint sets or in little detail cleaning sets. This is not a makeup brush at all, and I'm not advocating you stealing your wife's or ladies taking your own and using it to clean stuff, because then this will no longer be good to put on your skin. The other thing that we want to use is a coarse bristled brush. Now, the one that I got is actually set up to go into a drill, right? You can hook it up in a drill and spin it and all that. I don't use it that way. I use it in my hand like this so I can scrub at stuff, right? And you want it semi-coarse, not rough. Now, you want to consider the textures that you're playing with. So something like an original Sega Master System that's got a real smooth finish to it. You don't want to use something like this, right? Anything that's got a glossy surface. You don't want to use anything like this. You want to use something very soft, right? Very soft to clean that. But being as our PlayStation here has a matte, rough, coarse finish on it, then we don't have to really worry about scratching them up too much, right? Because you can see it kind of in the light there, the coarseness of it. We don't have to worry about screwing that up. So those are the basic tools that you're gonna need. You're also gonna need some cleaners. Simple, warm or hot tap water is what you're gonna want. Some Dawn dish soap, Palmolive, Cascade, whatever off-brand, it doesn't matter. I also throw in a little bit, and I'm gonna show you how much a little bit is, of hydrogen peroxide in with my mixture. And occasionally, I do have a jug of Mr. Clean concentrate, like a big gallon jug, and I will mix that kind of in a little bit too. I'll show you that. Really, the idea is, first and foremost, create a foamy, soapy bath. A little bit of hydrogen peroxide will actually help. Now, you want to be careful, right? You don't want to use bleaches. You definitely don't want to use ammonias, and you certainly, 100%, do not want to use bleach and ammonia at the same time. That is a very bad day, okay? Soaps, things like that. The reason I add hydrogen peroxide, and relative to the size of the sink, okay, I'm gonna add what looks like a lot. But the reason that I add that is especially with your older consoles, your NESs, your Famicom, Super Famicoms, any of your grayer consoles, your old Commodore 64s and stuff like that, that are not black, those consoles will turn a yellowish color. Also, so will stickers, right? They'll have a slight yellow tinge to it. And what that is, especially in plastics, is free bromides coming out of the plastic, right? Rising up naturally. Now, if you have imported a console from Japan, Japan still does, they're still pretty heavy smokers over there. And I'm not passing judgment on anybody, I'm just saying the way that it is. And especially smokers in their homes. And so you can get nicotine stains on your consoles as well. But more often than not, if it's turned a yellowish color, it's because of the free bromides in the plastic are starting to ease up to the top. So what hydrogen peroxide can do is break that up a little bit. Now there is retro brighting that uses some other chemicals, and that's a very good thing, but that's for another day. Today we're removing surface dust and cleaning and generally just getting gunk off of a console so that it looks good, right? So this is not going to remove scratches. This is not going to remove deep yellowing. This is not going to remove cuts and scrapes and divots and things like that. This is cleaning the plastics of the console. I'm also going to be cleaning the heat sink, and I'm going to be using the same exact chemicals, all right? So we've got our parts we're going to clean, we've got our tools, we know what chemicals we're roughly going to use. The only other thing that I want you guys to know that you're going to need is a couple of towels, right? A dirty towel that you used to dry off with last night is fine, right? You're going to want to lay it out, and the reason is this stuff needs to drip dry. Yes, you can take it out and blow it off with an air gun. Yes, you can take a million paper towels and dry it off, but it really needs to drip dry. That's the best case scenario for it. Just over time, wipe the top layer of moisture off, which we're going to do over there, and then just let it drip dry, right? That's going to make sure that it's clean and dry. Generally, I will leave a console drying for at least 24 hours. Now, maybe a little less if I got a fan blowing on it, maybe a little more, depending on the temperature. But generally, if you just leave it for 24 hours, when you go to pick it back up, it's dry. So, without further ado, let's switch over to the other side over there. And we'll go and set the camera up over there and get everything ready to rock and roll. See you over there.
All right, guys, so getting into this, the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start turning on some hot water and wait until it gets good and warm for us. We're going to take the standard bit of Dawn dish soap. I'm just using this sink over here now to get the temperature where I want it. Let me adjust the audio on this because I think it's going to be absolutely blaring. Let's come down just a little bit more. That looks pretty good right there. It's probably just a little bit loud, but I think it'll be okay. Alright, so now that we've got this over here, we're just going to take a good amount of Dawn dish soap and we're going to squirt it in our sink, just kind of in a roundabout pattern. Nothing particularly special at all about what we're doing here. Okay? Now, once we get it to about there, we're just going to take our pieces of our console and start just laying them in, being careful with everything. Again, we're not in any big rush. We're just laying everything inside until we get our console just about all the way in. Now notice I do have my towel hanging over the side. That's for a very good reason. I don't want to drip anything. Now, as we've got the water in this guy filling up, we're going to take a little bit more of our Dawn dish soap and sprinkle it around, lifting up each piece and just kind of squirting some Dawn in there. Okay? Now, what we're going to do, now that we've got it to this point, this is where our hydrogen peroxide comes in. This is just standard hydrogen peroxide that you can get absolutely anywhere. I think it is 3%, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy Now relatively, this seems like I'm adding a lot, okay? It seems like I just added a lot. I added about, I don't know, about a third, maybe a little bit more, okay, give or take. We're gonna add that in there. Instead of hydrogen peroxide, I also brought some isopropyl alcohol with me, some IPA. I brought that with me for a very good reason, okay? I may need it later on, okay? So, yes, I take my wedding band off whenever I'm working in the kitchen around the stoves. Once we got that all done, we get our hot water back ready, and we're just gonna soap everything down, okay? Now, we can move our I'm turning this down to just a normal, low, slow drip of water, right? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach in here and grab the very first thing I can get my hands on, which happens to be our heat sink. Now, question is, why did I fill up on this side? I'm rinsing on this side if I got to cross back over. Well, that way when I rinse it, anything that I bring across is gonna be clean, is gonna drop clean water down into this bin. You don't wanna bring soap across into your clean bin, all right? So we're gonna grab our little hand brush. We're gonna put just a little bit more Dawn on our brush, a little circle, rub them in, okay? And we're gonna start cleaning. I'm probably gonna speed up through a bunch of this. But I want to show you at least the first piece of metal and how I go about it, and then show you at least one piece of plastic, and then I'll speed up and we'll zip through the rest of it, because you guys don't need to see all that. So this guy is now full of soap. I'm not going to put him in there. Just making sure that I get every spot that maybe my big brush couldn't get. Okay? And there's our heat sink, beautifully clean, full of soap, and ready to go. So all we're going to do with him, give him a good shake from a couple of different angles, and then we're just going to set him down. There, that's it. That's all there is to it. We're going to reach under here, we're going to grab our first plastic piece. Okay? Now, notice I'm going to do all of my scrubbing from the inside first. And the reason is, I want once I clean this, any contaminants to be on the outside. Because this side will hold fluids, liquids in the little nooks and crannies, and I don't want that. You might find it useful as well, by the way, and your wife might yell at you less. If you are prone to spilling a lot of water, to cover this front edge of your sink up. You might find that beneficial. Now we're going to proceed on to the outside of this guy. Notice I've got it propped up on the edge so that all of my contaminants are dripping down as much as possible. Using firm pressure, not heavy, firm pressure. I'm not trying to scrub through it. I'm letting the bristles do the work. And then we can rinse this guy off. Be careful with the amount of water or you'll spill water everywhere. A little bit lower and slower. Going to use my hand some in here to make sure everything is rinsing off properly. Notice I'm starting on the outside, but you started scrubbing on the inside. Yes, I did. But if I start on the outside, most of the water will run inside. You saw it when I flipped it over. Now, you want to be careful with your screw bosses because water will get down in those screw bosses and soap will get trapped in them and you about can't get it out other than what I'm doing right here. I've got a slow amount of water just pouring into them. Okay? Look at that. The inside of it's all nice and clean. No more soap left over. We can take one last pass. Paying real close attention. So I've got an area right here that's kind of got some buildup on it. A scuff, perhaps. You're going to maybe have to use your fingernails occasionally for some of these sections. And once he's dry, we're going to shut our water off, move our faucet out of the way. Give him the old shaky, 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 shaky. And we're going to sit him top down. Now, notice I have a roll of paper towels over here. What I'm going to do is just wipe down this top edge of it. Right? Because if you let it sit here, okay, don't wipe down the water that's standing on top, what you'll end up with are water spots all over the outside plastics, which is not a huge deal to clean up, but it can be a little bit frustrating. So it's better to go ahead while you're here and take the opportunity and clean this up. Now, the screen, okay? Here's how you do these little screens. Just like this right here. Just like this right here. Small, gentle pressure with our brush. Okay? Using your thumb to kind of just gently hold him down. Turn our faucet back on. Run water through both sides of it. All the soap off of your hand. Okay? And then we're just going to find a good spot and let him lay. Now, for the rest of this, guys, I'm going to speed through all of it because you guys have seen the process. So I'm going to put this in high speed, and if I run into anything, which I doubt I will let you guys know.
And we're back. So we've got everything all cleaned up. And so before we go any further, what I wanted to do before we dove into the stream coming up, which will probably be today's Tuesday. I was at the doctor today, so probably tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, hopefully maybe Thursday, we will get the stream going, or I will post this footage for that. Yeah. Anyway, but what I wanted to do is take a quick minute and post, or not post. Listen, sometimes I'm not very smart. Okay, bear with me. What I did want to take a minute to do was go ahead with our thermal pads and replace those and show you guys how I go about doing it, the method to my madness on that. So let's switch over to the top-down view. And of course, I know we got a big mess. We've got a lot to clean up and all that stuff. We're gonna slide just a bunch of this out of the way, get all of our dust bunnies out of there so we can vacuum them up. And we're gonna put our heat sink down. And what we need to look at first is our two heat sink, or our two, I was hoping, but they didn't. I was hoping they cut those out to the same size, but no such luck. So what I ordered, I didn't, normally I would throw on like a Arctic brand thermal pad, but I didn't. I'm gonna give these a shot. They're a knockoff Arctic brand. I don't know how well they're gonna work, but for the price, I figured let's give them a shot. This is a 200 by 200 millimeter section by 1.5. I did order some 2 mil as well, just because again the price was just so there is no point, and I've said this before, there's no point in spending an absolute fortune on some particular types of components for vintage or older consoles. This would be one of those cases where it's just not worth it. Your return on investment, the return that you're going to get is just not, it's just not there. And so there's no point in going absolutely crazy. So what we want to do is, we have the shape that we want. So we're going to take our knife, and we're just going to follow this shape with our X-Acto knife. This does not have to be perfect. And when I say perfect, you don't have to follow the corners, the pretty little curved corners. By all means, if you want to, knock yourself out. But it's nothing you have to do. We just want to get a general cut going. And then we can, once we've got that, we can peel this off, leaving the bottom plastic in place. And then we can take our heat sink. Now here's what I like to do, okay? I like to look at this and see this laid across this way. And I know that because I can see the grid pattern in it with these two squares here. So I know this laid down that way. So we're gonna duplicate that, except for, we're gonna have to put it on backwards. So we need to peel off the top of this. I would prefer to use thermal paste. However, I'm assuming since they went with thermal pads, they didn't have room for thermal paste. Also, I will point out, this is an aluminum heat pipe, not a copper heat pipe. And that tells me a number of things. The first most important thing that tells me is that the heat is not super high on this guy. So I laid it down. I'm not super happy with the position, and this is where the wonderful part of fresh thermal pads come in. We can gently lift and reposition these gently. Until we get absolute full coverage, just like that. Now, that's one cut. This one can now go folded over and in the trash. We don't care about him anymore. We've got our other one, this little guy right here, goes there. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna line him up here, leaving excess on purpose. I'm gonna attempt to see if I just make a straight cut across, if this piece will fit inside of our hole, which it's not going to, and that's okay. So that's fine. We're going to set him down in here. And so I know here and right there. I try not to waste any of these thermal pads as much. I try to care for it as much as possible, right? That we don't need anymore. And he should drop right down in our hole just like that. Perfect. Now the other one that we had was this little guy. Okay. And he sits somewhere, excuse me, right in here. To nail down that proper placement, okay? Oh my God, I dropped my little keyboard thing. So to nail down that proper placement, we now have to figure out where this lies. And if I had to guess, he's got to go this way, okay? And the reason I say he has to go this way is these power poles have to come up through it. So, that being the case, that means this thermal pad goes right here on top of that chip. Has to. Now before we go sticking him down, I'm going to take just a quick second and I'm going to look over this board. I don't see any vented capacitors. I don't see any issues with it at all. I'm going to get some isopropyl alcohol real quick. Right here. I got to go grab my toothbrush. That's what I forgot. The toothbrush. I left him over here where I was cleaning. Get my scrubby brush back. I'm bad about leaving my scrubby brushes over there at the sink, and when I do, my wife, who is wonderful, she's Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way, then takes them and uses them for various different things. So we just want to coat this whole board with isopropyl. Just don't be afraid of it. And we're going to scrub this thing One of these days I am going to, oh crap. I'm gonna go through the trouble of showing you guys how you wash with soap and water and clean a board that way. One of these days, not today, but one of these days soon, I'm gonna show you how to do that. There's some tricks to it. So down here where all this major amount of debris was built up, I'm just gonna go through and you stupid thing, stay up there. What do I pay you for? Stay. This is a prime time, by the way, to take your brush. Be careful in this port because that's a fiber connection, so be careful in there. This is a prime time, by the way. There's also a thermal pad down here. We're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to replace him. This thermal pad, this is not really a thermal pad. This is just a cover pad. So let me go ahead and we're gonna peel him up just gently, like, and try to save all of him that we can. So the good thing about thermal pads are, generally speaking, they are non-conductive. Generally speaking. Now that we've got a general idea of how big he needs to be, let's set this out of the way. We're going to cut us one more piece, roughly this size. And we're going to put him down over there. While this is not a thermal pad, they were trying to insulate from something. And so since they were trying to thermally insulate, or not thermally, physically insulate and isolate from something, we are going to try our best to duplicate that. If I had to wager, I'd say they didn't want this coming in contact with anything metallic. The glue has really stuck. Easy. Another little piece. If you guys notice, and I don't know that you can, because the mobile cam needs to move. Do I even have the mobile cam up on this view? I don't think so, Tim. I must not. It's got to be up there. What is this point now? So right here is this thermal pad. Let me see if I can get a good solid view of it. Right here by my finger. There's a thermal pad, or I say a thermal pad, this insulator that was stuck pretty hard to the board. Notice I'm using the back edge, the blunt edge of the knife to lift. Right? I'm not wanting to catch a trace. I'm not wanting to damage anything. I don't know if you guys can see him kind of flicking and moving around a little bit. we're just going to wiggle him till the adhesive lets go. This right here, this is how you can very quickly and easily gouge a board and destroy it. And you don't want to do that. There we go. Nailed it. We're going to take some more. Actually, we're going to go with flux remover because we've got a lot of flux here, and we've also got a thermal pad on the bottom of that chip. I'm going to take him and save him. They really did not do a very adequate job. Where did I put the other, you know what, I don't care. I'll find it in a minute. They didn't do a very good job of cleaning the bottom of this board, I'll tell you that. Cleaning the flux off of it, they really didn't. And that, I mentioned it kind of in passing, that is shocking for Sony. Sony is usually on Nintendo's level of board cleanliness. You know, in my opinion, notice how you use those words like that. In my opinion, the new reigning king is Microsoft. You pull apart a Microsoft console from the Series S on, and it is shockingly clean. Like, they don't leave a drop of flux of any kind anywhere on that board. As a matter of fact, I think, you know, whereas everybody washes them, and generally it's an ultrasonic wash that they go through, if I had to wager, I'd say Microsoft probably does a bit of a ultrasonic and a hand wash, if I just had to guess at it. If I didn't mention it in the last video, I'm going to mention it again now. Just how impressed I am overall with the double-sided board. I had forgotten that this was a double-sided board in here. I really had. So this guy, we're going to take a little bit of hot air because he's not, I still got a lot of drying to do here. The trick is, by the way, the trick to using hot air to dry a board is to remember, first and foremost, you're not trying to reflow the board or any components on it. We're just using the hot air got a nice little cutout right here indicating where this should go. And that's pretty handy. All you're doing is using the hot air to warm up the area. Come on, piece of plastic. There you go. Now, if memory serves, this guy goes there, I believe. And then we can take not that piece of metal, that piece of metal, perhaps it is this piece of metal. Those two holes line up. So maybe it doesn't go here at all. I've got, I don't know. No way that that lines up. That lines up though, doesn't it? Sure does. The only thing that I don't like about this at all is that does line up, but these two pieces of metal right here touch these center legs. I guess what I could do is do a continuity check. I think that's probably the correct path. These right here both might be ground. Yes. Okay, those are both ground. Okay, I can live with that. Now that I know that, I can live with that. Before I go sticking this guy down though, I need one more paper towel. I'll tell you what, one thing I do, and if you do a bunch of these, you will too, go through a lot of paper towels. A absolute whack load of them. You go through a bunch. But I am meticulous about cleaning my consoles when I'm working on one. I really am. I try to get them as near as is possible factory clean. I probably should have washed these. I probably should have. I'm kind of split mentally on washing the metals versus isopropiling them. I'm a little bit split on that because I know, in my mind, I know that when you wash them, you introduce water to a very, I say soft. This metal, I believe, would be galvanized. I believe it to be galvanized. But you introduce that water to that, and even though it is a coated metal, I believe, or at least to my mind, I am adding a point for rust and corrosion to build up, and I do not like that. Okay, so these are actually touching down on those pads. How about that? So we're now going to flip this over. I'm going to give these two little chips right here one more little wipe down. And then we're going to reinstall our thermal pad on this big guy right here. Now I could replace this thermal pad on this chip. I don't know if it goes on that chip or if it goes on this chip. Let's take a close look. This has to go this way. Yeah, it goes on this chip. Which would make more sense because this is like a memory module and this is like a power IC. Okay. So we can then take and set this guy down here. just like so. So we figure out what's holding. Oh, okay. So there's a little metal tab that comes through. Pay attention to that guy. So that then has this portion reassembled. Reassembled-ish. Okay. So our heat sink is in great shape. The next part of our board comes through and solders down here. But I'm not ready to do that just yet. I want to throw some desoldering gun at this guy. I could probably use solder wick and pull it up. That may be the better choice here. There really is. So I'll tell you this, you know, listen, there are 50 ways to solder or desolder a thing. You know, a lot of it, there is a skill, there is an art form, there is a technique. Yes, absolutely. But a lot of it is, and this is just me being candidly honest, a lot of it just comes down to, you know, a little bit of practice, a little bit of patience, and then making a decision and seeing how that decision works out. You know, it may work out great. It may suck. You may screw something up. It's no big deal. You guys have heard me say that plenty. It's no big deal. Screw stuff up all the time. It happens. No biggie. No biggie. Now it's the race. The race is on. Which one's going to heat up first? Better get all the heat on this one. All of the heats. That'll go back down there. Okay, so before I go putting him back down there, time for a little bit of cleanup. What we're gonna do is we took it off with hot air. That's how it's gonna have to go back on. Oh, shut it. You, sir, are a day late and $1 short. You have showed up to the party late, Mr. Desoldering Gun. This side was not very dirty, by the way. Oh, we got to change this out. That's a lithium cell, too. It's just a CR2032, but it's a lithium. I am tempted to do a voltage check on it before I decide to replace it. So I think we shall. Really? Really? Zero. I'm on millivolts. Don't you judge me, okay? Can be on millivolts if I want. 3.03. I am going to leave it. I'm gonna leave it. Normally I might not, but at 3.0 volts, I'm leaving it. That's close enough. That's close enough. So let's line this guy back up. Throw our test leads down on the ground. Get our heat done. Actually, before we do that, I'm gonna try it. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever gonna get there. The ground planes on this are so huge. Like that ground plane literally is these two, and it travels, I mean, it is, and it travels all the way up this way. It is massive. So I don't want to, blown up over here. I don't know what by. I'm just heating this up, by the way, just enough to where it'll push down. And once I know I got it all the way down, we can come back in and reflow it later. I said that. Can anybody think of a reason why I shouldn't go ahead and just do it now? Yeah, I kind of agree. There's no reason. I'm here and I'm doing it. There's no reason why I shouldn't just do it now. So that's what we're gonna do. No reason at all. Normally I would say I will wait until we're on stream, but I'm here. This will tie this together really nicely. So we'll just do it. We'll just do it now. Because this is such a big ground plane, by the way, I've got my heat cranked up to 480. Okay, so that's got him all pinned in and all that's good. So I think we're at a point where we're gonna leave it Right here, all of this is clean, all the plastics are clean. When we come back on stream, we'll have this part done and we can proceed on with the rest of the build. So, I will see you guys here shortly. I'll learn how this thing, you just wait. You just wait. I'll figure out this thing. There we go. Yeah, so that's gonna wrap up where we're at today. I showed you guys how to clean the plastics on one, and we came back over and we cleaned up a bunch of this stuff. I'll clean up some more of it kind of off stream and get all that ready to go. And then when we do the stream this weekend, it will be actually reassembling it and getting the console back up. We'll take the DVD drive apart, check all those things, and get it ready to rock and roll. At any rate, listen guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I appreciate it, and I will definitely 100% catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.